Yeah, so hello guys. I guess it's already 8:10 and we're going to start today's tech talk. Yeah. Today's session is just an information session. And so before we start, I'm going to ask Kevin Jogona to open with a word of prayer. Yeah, so Kevin Jogona, you can just unmute and lead us in a word of prayer. Hello, Kelvin. Yeah, you can unmute. I've given you the permission. Okay, there seems to be an audio issue with Kelvin, so I'll just I'll just pray. Yes, so our Heavenly Father, we come before you this evening. We thank you for this wonderful day that you have given unto us. As we start today's session, we pray, Lord, that you're going to guide us in whatever we are going to hear. And may we leave this place impacted, oh dear Lord. In Jesus' mighty name, we do pray, believing and trusting. Amen. Yeah, so I guess we can start the meeting. Alex Moniki, yeah, the GDSC cybersecurity lead at the University of Embu. And so today's talk, we are going to talk about how to crack that Microsoft internship. Yeah, we're going to go through the application process, like what skills are needed, also what happens during the interviewing process, and what else. We're also going to have a question and answer session, and also some resume and cover letters review, yeah, so that we can see where we go wrong and also get some tips from someone who has been in the field. Yeah, so I think I can welcome John and Gibson to say something, maybe an introduction before we can start. Yeah, so you can choose who to go first. Okay, so I guess Gibson can start and then John, in that order. Yeah, you can just unmute.
Okay, cool. So I hope I'm audible. Can just confirm.
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, cool. So my name is Gibson. As Alex has just introduced me, I'm a software engineer and also a student at Dedan Kimathi University of Technology. As a student, I'm a final year student. As a software engineer, I'm currently based in a startup here in Nyeri. So yeah, that's just me.
Yeah.
Hello everyone. I hope my audio is okay.
Yeah, the audio is fine.
All right. I am John Moses. I'm a current undergraduate student in my final year at USIU, and I'm a major in software engineering, and also a machine DevOps.
Yeah, thank you, Gibson and John, for that brief introduction. Yeah, so I guess we can now officially start the meeting. Okay, so first of all, we have a lot of, let me call them, first years in the house, and maybe other people who haven't experienced internship. So, in simple words, how can you explain an internship? Like, what is internship? Yeah, back to John.
Okay. For me, I will describe an internship first. It's basically, I will say, it concentrates on two areas. You can go for a training internship or a working internship, or a both. There are internships where you go and you learn new technologies that you haven't used before in the job, and there are internships that you actually go and use the knowledge that you have, and it's a way to leverage your experience as a way also of putting some numbers into your resume or CV. So I'll say that that's my intern. That's what I can define as an internship.
Okay, so Gibson, not okay. How Gibson? How can you define an internship?
Well, okay, as John just said, for me, I think that's the same. An internship for me is the an opportunity to know how the corporate world works. It's also an opportunity to, to put the knowledge you gained in class or either way, something that you learn by yourself into practice. So you get to do a lot in an internship. First, you get to know how the business world works, how to handle clients, how to conduct yourself, how to work with a larger team, how to contribute to a production grade software. So I assume all of us we are all techies. So yeah, in a nutshell, that's the internship for me. It's just an experience to learn how the corporate world works.
Okay, I think with that we all have a basic idea of what the internship is. Yeah, and for some of us, I know we'll be there in a few years or few months to come. Yeah, some of us a few days to come. Yeah, so yeah, so like so what is the process that happens in the internship? Maybe you can start with John. Okay, not John, but Gibson, since you said you are in Dekut, and I heard that in Dekut there are two internships, one in the second year and the other one in the third year. So like how does it occur? Since in the universities I know we only have just one internship which occurs in the third year. So how do you manage the two internships, and maybe what's your view, or are there any benefits to the two? Yeah.
Well, okay. So for us in the CUT, we have two internships, but the second year internship is not necessarily an internship. You don't get to go to the outside world and learn anything. So it's just an extension of the second year. So we call it 2.3. So what you get to do is, for us software engineers or computer science IT students or engineering students, you get to work on a project for a period of 8 years, 8 weeks. So and then at the end of the 8 week, you will submit your project to a panel, and then they will grade it, and then you do some documentation. So what they try to do is simulate something close to what you'll do in the field. That is for the engineering students. So for the business students, I think they only have one internship. That is the third year or the final year internship. But yeah, the final year internship for us computer science students. Now this is where you get to go to the outside world and do do what do I say, and try to experience the corporate world. So for computer science we have that, but I think for the engineering student they have three, if I'm not wrong. They have three. So for the third year, because the engineering students will go up to the fifth year, so they have their, I think, fourth year and third year, and then second year. The fifth year internship, you have to do something related to your coursework. But I think the third year you can apply to any company you want to be placed. Yeah. So for us in the court, that's how it works. The first internship, the school caters for the experience, and then the second and the third internship, you have to look for a place.
Okay, so just to answer a question in the chat, is there a difference between an internship and an attachment? John?
Okay, for me, what I view as an internship, it's more of the modern way of saying you do a certain job, like an apprenticeship type of job, while you're learning and getting paid at the same time. But what I view as an attachment is you being attached into a company for you to either work or learn something. But most of the times, attachments are mostly, I hear them mostly for maybe government or corporate jobs, and internships, maybe you hear them from these startups, tech companies, such as that.
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, so I guess Jimmy, that has answered your question. The difference between an internship and an attachment. Yeah, so maybe right now you can dive through the application process. Yeah, since most of us are still new to this field, like I'm a first year, I've not yet experienced an internship, and I'm seeing the third years here walking up and down with papers. So, how does the process occur? Like, how do you start? Maybe getting a recommendation letter. How do you write a certain cover letter? How should it be? What should you write in your CV, in your cover letter? And also, maybe what is the difference between a CV and a resume? Yeah, like some of the matters that arise during the application process. Yeah, so maybe Moses, you can take us through that.
Okay, so first we'll say that I'll start with the CV resume. A CV, it's a detailed, I think, a detailed description of who you are, your experiences, your projects, and all that. Then a resume, it could be like a one pager. You could have like a one pager resume, briefly describing everything that you have done. And one thing about CVs, that this is from my coach, my career coach, is always every experience counts depending on the job or the field that you're applying to or the areas of your interests. And he and went on further to say that a CV should not over exaggerate things. It should be structured. There's a way you structure how you write your experiences, how you write your projects, how you write about yourself. It's not always about going and putting there that I worked in this and this company. No, it's always a structured format. There's a structured format how you write it, how you write your impact, your results, everything, the technologies you used in projects also, and also an internship resume is very different from a graduate's resume. So there's a lot of differences there. And short, just to make it short, both two can be the same thing, but in each and every field, a CV and a resume are very different. From a software engineer to a cyber security to a graphic designer, they're very, very different. And you have to tailor your CV based on the job requirements uh, and the industry requirements.
Yeah, okay. I think I've now understood the difference between a CV and a resume. So like, yeah, so how do we start the application process? I don't think we'll major on the school side since various schools have their own way of handling an internship. So let's talk about how you start from, yeah, how do you start searching for a perfect place? Like how did you land yourself in Microsoft? And how do you know if you're eligible to such a place?
Okay, for me, the search started a year ago. So what I did is I went back 1 year ago, and I checked the application, the one that they had put out there for applying. I went and looked at all the requirements that they had requested for, and during the 1 year period now till last year, I went over each and every requirement, filling it out. That was, I went and learned the skills that they were requesting for, the tech that they were requesting for. So, come next year, I will have all the required skills necessary to apply for that job. And I also, before I applied, I had to do my research. I had to know when the internships are offered, when they open, the dates they open, and also the people around the job space. That is the people who have worked around there. Maybe you can search on LinkedIn. Companies like, for example, Microsoft is on LinkedIn. And if you search for people on LinkedIn, you can filter it with the school that you're in or the field that you're in. And most of the times, you find out that you're connected with some people who have worked there or are working there. Or you can find out that you can find recruiters out there, and you apply based on maybe the requirements that they have placed there and your skills. Then the other thing I'll say is always always follow up on the people that work in that field. That is, if you're in Microsoft, there are a lot of people in Microsoft Kenya ADC that are in LinkedIn and other social media platforms. You can keep in touch with them. They'll also keep you posted about things that are changing in their industry and everything. And the link that I got to apply for the job was actually posted the same day by one of their employees, and that's where I got to apply through. So it's important to follow people who have the same interests as you also.
Yeah, I think that's actually a good tip. Like, yeah, trying to learn those skills earlier. Yeah, that's what basically I usually do and deciding where to specialize in my career. Yeah, I think you can also implement that in the internship part. Yeah, so okay, so let's say I've already applied for the internship. Are there like interviews just like the normal jobs, or how does it go? Or do you just get shortlisted, they check for the skills, do some disqualifications, and then you get the internship? Like, are there some interviews that undergo? And if yes, what are some of the questions that you expect to answer in the interview? Sorry.
Okay. So I think after applying, they do filter out. First of all, one thing a recruiter told us, a Microsoft recruiter told us when he came for a career week, was that many people do apply, but they do go with the first bunch of people. For example, they will take the first 200 people that have applied for the job. And within the 200 people, if they find at least 20 to 50 people have met the requirements, then they will put them in the first phase, whereby the first phase is always a codility assessment. So, a codility assessment is basically a coding assessment for data structures. So, what this means is that it's important to always apply early as possible, because the earlier you apply, the better your chances are that a recruiter will always view your resume early on. And if you meet the key points or the keywords that they are always looking for, they always put you into the next phase, which in this part for Microsoft was an online coding assessment. And then the other phase was the ones that passed the assessment will go on later on to do interviews, which were virtual. There were virtual interviews, four of them. Out of the four, one was you meet with your recruiter. Then the other three interviews, which were 45 minutes each, you will do technical questions and you will do behavioral questions. Both of these, all the three interviews are to test your skills, to know who you are, to know how well you'll fit in the Microsoft culture, and also the technical ability is also to access where they will put you inside the organization, whether you are in a certain team. If you're good in certain area, they'll put you in a certain team. If you're good in this, they'll put you in another team. So that is the interview process. It is long, especially the interview day. It's from you select the day that you want, but the timings are from, I did mine from 8 all the way to 1. So you have to be prepared very well. The good thing is that they send you resources to help you prepare well, because they want you to do the best. That is, the recruiter wants you to do the best, and it's a very it's not a very hard interviews whereby they grill you. Or no, the interviewers always want you to perform well, because you pass the application process, and they know that you have the skills, and they just want to bring out the skills out of you. And that was the process. The questions that were asked, the behavioral questions, were, for example, they will ask you, how do you demonstrate integrity in your day-to-day life? Examples. They will ask you a Microsoft company question, like the culture within. They can test on how you respond to certain situations. And in for the technical, it's coding, but also at the same time they do ask you for example, they can ask you to simplify what an operating system is to a 10-year-old. They just want to see how you respond, how you think, how you communicate, certain things like that. It's not always about, oh yes, I know how to code. No, they just want to know how you can analyze a problem, how you can implement a problem, and also general terms. You should know some general terms of computing, because they do test you. And it's one on one. And the most another important thing is, at the end of each interview, it's important to ask them back questions, and they're always free to ask them any questions regarding their workspace and the culture around their workspace. So I think that's a detailed interview process. Yes, and the recruiter is always with you at every step. If you want any help, the recruiter is always there to help you. Everything, even the accommodation for the interview.
Okay, okay, back to the interview part. Most IT people are considered introverts. So, are introverts like accommodated? There are people who can't speak in public or who can talk to new people. So, like, are they accommodated in such situations, or wataonekana tu, this guy can't talk, he doesn't show anything, and then you just get disqualified there?
First of all, they make you feel comfortable. By first, they say that the dress code is however you want. So it's always they want to make you feel like you're just talking to another person, and at the same time, they do not ask you very outward questions. They just focus on the interview. If it's a question outside an interview, it's very hard for them to ask you. And the introverted people, I think they are sorted, because one thing, the interviews, they made them virtual this time. They do use the cameras and all that, but most of the time it's just you and the interviewer that are speaking, and they do not pressure you a lot, like maybe another interview that you could have done. And they give you also space to talk. That's why it's a 45-minute interview.
Yeah, okay. And since there are different fields in this tech world, like we have the software engineering, the cyber security parts, data analysis. So let me just talk about the cyber security part. So are you like supposed to be given something to do in the field of cybersecurity, just like you've mentioned the coding sessions and stuff. Yes, John?
Uh, for what I know, is that in the field of cyber, the same as cloud, they do have their interviews, and when software engineers are doing a technical interview for coding, cybersecurity is also tested in their field. Like for example, you could have running virtual machines and testing out environments, and also running some. I saw one for cloud. They're given optional questions, like they're given to create a network field. So they do have different tests. The data structures test for software engineers is just a criteria to understand how people solve problems and think. So for cyber, not very sure about that, but what I know is that they are tested on their own field when it comes to technicalities and everything.
Okay, so now let's get to the exciting part, which is now Microsoft. Yeah, you know, Microsoft is a big tech company. And now, you know, when we are coming to talk about internships, you find that most people just apply in some small places. Like you just get a local school and apply for your internship there. And then when you come to look at this deeper, you're taking a degree in IT, in computer science, or a tech related course. Obviously, Microsoft, Google, those are the places you deserve to go. But then you see, like, someone goes to just a small place, a local school. Not that it's a bad thing. So, like, I needed to ask, like, if you could share your experiences at Microsoft, how the internship was, because right now, if you are to ask me, like, about an internship, not that I've attended one, but from my mind, I can tell you it's just going there, fixing a printer, getting coffee for your seniors and stuff. I mean, that's how I picture an internship. But now in this case, because it's Microsoft, I'm sure they give you tasks to do. Yeah, like if you could share some of those experiences, maybe the department responsibilities you are doing. Okay, just put it like a day in the life of an internship at Microsoft. Yeah.
Okay, for now, I think Gibson will go first because mine is it's on current. It's on current, and I want to see how Gibson maybe it's different from mine, and then I will share mine.
Yeah, sure. Gibson, you can take the lead.
Okay. Cool. But okay, so that question is a bit tricky for John. I don't think John have actually done his internship. I think he's supposed to start his internship maybe early July, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, uh, in regards to the experience, so I think what we want to erase from our minds is that the fact that we all think that an internship is just the workplace taking advantage of you. No, that's not the case. So what you get to do in an internship, you get to actually do the work that the team you are placed is doing. So if the team is building a cool, say maybe you were working for Google and then you were placed in the team that is handling Gemini, the AI, you will get to work on that. So for my case, the internship, uh, what I was doing, for me, I major in backend, so I was placed in a backend engineering team. So the tasks that were the team was handling, I got to do part of the task. So there was no, I don't know, I send you for my coffee. No. You are treated as an equal. So you and the software engineer who has a bit experience than you. you are teammates, so you get to handle the same workload. Not necessarily you won't have that pressure. Of course, you're just an intern, but the the work is almost the same. But then they give you an opportunity. They know you are an intern, so they give you an opportunity to learn. So you have a lot of materials to learn. So for the Microsoft guys, you get a lot of resources around the Microsoft technologies, C Sharp, Azure as the cloud, ChatGPT. That's the AI, the cool kid in town. So yeah. So the thing is, I think what you just described, Alex, is what we hear in social medias about how the bad experiences most of students experience in the companies they are placed, but that is not the case, I think, for IT, IT guys. So for an IT, you are there to write code, to learn new technologies. So it is fun. So in any case, you get an opportunity to do an internship or an attachment for a company, an IT-based company. Take it and just run with it. Learn as much as you can.
Okay. Just to add up something else is that one thing is also always try to connect and network with your colleagues and people around your workspace and also your manager. So for me, I'm in the onboard. I'm in the final step, which is the I think the onboarding process before now the hire process. So now I'm just being introduced into the systems and all that. And I was told by my recruiter told me I don't know if things are changing, but it will be like I'll be given a 12 weeks plan because my internship will run for 12 weeks. And for those 12 weeks, they'll give me deliverables that I'll be doing with the team that I'm in. I was put into, I don't know what Gibson, which team you was put in, but I was put into substrate, 365 substrate. And so basically, I would say that the internship is actually you're going to do some work, you're going to learn a lot, and contrary to what you hear outside, what also Gibson said that interns just get coffee. So for people, this is Microsoft doesn't really do that to interns, and they give people opportunity to learn, to grow, and they even offer full-time job positions to you if you did a good job.
Also, like you have to mind that you won't be an intern for life. So for a company that treats you bad, so you have to know that in the next 5 years, or maybe three, you will be the software engineer maintaining the system. So try in as much. I know there are those bad instances where you get placed in a company that, well, unfortunately does that. But for an ideal IT company, they know that in the next 3 or 2 years they will need you as a software engineer. So they will make sure you learn as much as you can while your internship period runs.
Yeah, and so Gibson, you talked about writing code. So what code are we exactly writing? Is it the company's code or just they create like a dummy code for you to keep yourself busy?
No, 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 no. You contribute to the to the work that the team is doing. So you actually get to do the actual project the company is involved in. So John said he mentioned something to do with substrate. So that's where he will be working. That's where I worked on my last internship. And then I hope maybe in the next one I'll meet him there. So yeah, you don't write dummy codes. You do the actual work. The actual work you deliver. You have to deliver. You have to write reports. Yeah, you you get your hands dirty.
Okay, so Gibson, because you've already experienced the internship, like okay, what are some of the challenges you've encountered in the internship journey, and how are you able to solve them?
Well, the first thing is that's a new environment for me. It was, I think that was my second internship. So it was a larger team compared to the previous experience. So for such a scale that for a company of that scale, so you have a lot to learn. But then this not to put pressure on you. So you are given quite a lot of time to go through some materials that you'll need to do. So for one of the challenges I faced, so for me when starting my ITCS, I had a background in Python, JS, but then when I started my internship, I was placed in a team that was writing C sharp. So you have to learn C sharp for you to contribute to the code base. So, but that is not a blocker. So what they assume is that you are engineering student. So if you can learn one language very well, then you can translate quite a lot of the skills you have gained in your language to the new language. So yeah, and then the second one, because now you are working in a production environment and then you have to write reports. So this is not your, for us students, you get to do your assignments in the last minutes and then you submit, but then you have to write reports which will be reviewed by your managers, and then this will determine your future in the course of the your future if you get a return offer. So yeah, so writing reports, then you have to get really serious. You have to consult a lot of people. You have to do a bit of research. You have to go through your way. You have to dig a lot. Yeah. So the first month was a bit. It was a. I had a, what do we call it? So steep learning curve, but then it gets better once you get the hangs of thing, and everything just becomes much easier.
Yeah, and there's a question I forgot to ask. Is the internship hybrid or just you have to be there physically?
Yeah, for a case you have to be there physically. So the last internship that was virtual was the COVID era. So that's the only internship they did virtually. But now for our case, and then I think for the John's case, you have to attend physically. They have a nice office in ADC, so yeah, it's physically.
Okay, and just I'm not sure whether it's a silly question, but just like a job, can you lose an internship? Maybe because of some reason.
Yeah, you are under a contract, so it's a role like any other.
Yeah.
So they treat you like an employee. So there are some few things you have to be disciplined. So you have to check on your conduct, how you carry yourself. So you have to mind this is a business. It's not your schoolwork. So you have to conduct yourself in a professional manner. You have to deliver you have to deliver. You have to work hard. So yeah, you can lose an internship. You can lose an internship.
Okay, okay. And so, yeah, another thing. Okay, so like now from a personal point of view, okay, I know you have experienced, okay, yeah, you have experienced the classroom learning and the internship learning. So, what are some of the benefits? Okay, how do you apply whatever you've learned in class out there? I mean, yeah, what are the benefits of internship compared to the classroom thing?
Well, of course, for the internship, as I just said, you are working on the production environment. This is what happens in the real world. The class is just a simulation of what you expect, right? So you are learning what to apply, but then in an internship, you are applying your skills real time. So for, I would say, the class work gives you the general knowledge of how things work, but then when you go for an internship or an attachment, you get to see, okay, things are quite different. They say bit of ground any different. So yeah. So the advantage of an internship is that you get to have a solid experience first you can't get a work experience from classwork, so you need the internship to have a few months or a few years of experience under your belt. So whenever you are trying to apply for a job, what they will look for is the experience and then the classwork. So yeah, for an internship, it just gets you the experience, what you require to do in the real world, how like for the CSIT guys, there are so many things you learn in class, the theory work. So for some of the things you learn is the agile methodologies, how you plan your projects, but then in an internship or a job or an attachment in case, you get to experience that in real life. So you get to work on a project, then you get to know how to write reports, you get to know how to communicate, you learn how what is expected of you, and then what's not. So yeah, you learn a lot in an internship.
Okay, great. So now, okay, when it comes to the mentorship part, how is the mentorship there at Microsoft? Do you have mentors or how does it occur?
Yeah, they do pair you with a teammate, so the teammate would assist you with any queries, any difficulties you are experiencing in your day-to-day, you know, work. So yeah, you have a teammate who will guide you throughout your internship experience. They give you a mentor to make your life a bit easier during internship, because they know it's not easy to uh, to do some. They know a lot of the things you would find in the corporate world. It's a bit different from what you learn in school. So yeah, they do assist you a lot.
Okay, so are there some of okay, is there any project that you've done while working at an intern at Microsoft that maybe you'd like to share, or any new skill that you learned from the internship period?
Well, for the projects, obviously, you can't share much of the work you did for the company, because
Oh
then
yeah,
you sign a lot of NDA. But in terms of skills, yeah, I gained a lot. First is how to manage time. That is the soft skills. So, and then the second skill I think is how the corporate world works. In as much as you are writing code, the code have to make money, and if your code is not generating any income, then it's useless. So, and then in terms of skills, now the tech skills, I had a few experience with the Azure cloud. So yeah, I did a few courses on Azure. But prior to that, my campus, that is Dikut, has a huge community, a Microsoft community. I think applies to you guys also. So yeah, so a few of the certifications that I did while I was in school, that is second year, first year, I got to have our real world experience during my internship.
oh that's great. So I guess right now I can open up the forum for question and answer. Yeah, because right now my questionnaire is out of questions. Yeah, I guess I can open the platform. You can just raise your hand and ask a question. So I think I'll start with the ones in the chat from James Ngatia. Yeah, he's saying that it's out of topic, but okay, on that point now that Gibson is a backend developer, is it healthy for a beginner to major in backend? Because I heard it's hard to be trusted in backend as a beginner, so we should major in front end first. And what language does he use? Yeah, so Gibson, I guess you can answer that question in the chat. You've been tagged there.
Well, yeah, okay, that's a good question. So yeah, that's what I'll say. That's that's just a saying people say, but backend is good for when anyone can start in backend. So And in regards to trusting interns with the system, well, of course, you won't. There are few security measures that are put in place. You can't crash the whole system. But then, yet again, also the senior engineers, they do same mistakes, and they end up costing the company. So for backend, it's not that hard, yet it's not that easy. What it requires is just a bit of time and patience. It's the same with front end. So what people really do think front end is just writing the client code, HTML and CSS, but front end is a huge area. So the two disciplines are equally difficult. But backend is actually, for me, I enjoy backend because it makes more sense for me. So during my second year coursework, what one of the units I enjoyed is database systems and operating systems. So that made a lot of sense to me. So the obvious the next action was to try to major in backend. So my back then I used to write in Python. So I started writing in Python, that is Flask, Django, and then slowly I migrated to .NET, that is C Sharp. And then in the Qt, obviously you have to incorporate the Java. So one of the languages that a computer science student or an IT student takes in the Qt is Java. So yeah, also Java. Yeah. So but basically backend, it's huge. So there are people who write APIs, that is REST APIs. Those are also backends. You get to work on systems. Yeah, it's interesting. For in my case, I think for me, I enjoy backend than writing client code. Yeah. So to answer your question, yeah, it's anyone can start with backend. You just have to be consistent and just pick a starting point. So for me, was to learn SQL databases, so that is relational databases, and then try to build on that, learn a language, and then try to connect what you have learned as a database engineer. How to query the database using the language you have learned. Try a bit of RAD applications, and then after that, then try to learn advanced concepts. Yeah, with time, we will be good.
Yeah, thank you for that. So I guess right now we can do the Q&A session. You can just press that raise hand button or make a presenter request. Yeah, we can start with James Ngatia.
It's me again. My question is the certifications that these guys did on maybe first year and second year, does they concern something about Microsoft, and maybe that's why they got an internship there, or they just some certifications?
No, for my case, no. I don't have any Microsoft certification. The one I have, I recently acquired it the last 2 weeks. Yeah, I did my examination last 2 weeks, but during my internship, I actually didn't know anything to do with Azure. So for me, the crowd of choice that time was AWS and Google. So yeah, you don't have to know any Microsoft tech stacks to get an internship at Microsoft.
Yes. Also, for my part, I think, and I've not done any certificates. I do know the technologies. I have used Azure for machine learning and cloud, but I won't say that I've done the certifications in it. Yeah, and also I have taken part in some Microsoft competitions, but I didn't put it in my resume. So I won't say it contributes a lot.
Okay, I also have a question. So what comes after an internship? Do you like get a certificate or what is there to show that you did that?
Well, okay, you don't get a certificate, obviously. So what you get is the connection you build during the internships, the experience, and if you can also ask your manager to write a recommendation letter for you. So for me, the whole purpose of an internship is to learn to create connections. So at the end of the 3 months, what you want to have is you have built your connection. So you at least you know someone. Also, yeah. So for me, in my case, once you get that at Microsoft, once you do a good job, you get a return offer. So they request you to go back maybe for another internship if you are yet to complete school, or they give you a full-time job once you complete school. Yeah.
And also, does someone get paid during the internship?
Yeah, for Microsoft you get paid.
Okay, is the amount confidential or?
Yeah, for my case, but is something good.
Okay, okay, thank you. Okay, yes, John Moses, I can see your hand is raised.
Also, I think they something that was in the application was, I don't know if Gibson can confirm this, is that they give you after the internship. I think they give you a minimum of, I think, 6 months, 6 months for you, maybe for you. That is the period they give you for you to come back, maybe.
Yeah. Yeah, like okay, I didn't get your question. So do you mean you get 6 months before you start your internship, or
No, no, no. I'm saying after the internship, for you to come back, maybe after they given you an offer, it could be maybe it can only last up to 6 months when it's viable. They can't wait like a year.
well, yeah, I think that will depend on your graduation date if you have done a good job. Like for my case, yeah, I think I'm within the 6 months range. So for my case, I'm yet to complete school. So I was in my third year then. So couldn't get full time, so I had a return offer to do a second internship. Now, yeah, so that was last year October. So and then the internship will start this year July. Yeah, I think it's about 6 months.
Okay, okay, okay. And also, for example, mine will be like after my internship, it will be like 2 months. Then I graduate. Uh, do they? Because I know the process of. I know Microsoft process of getting you into the job. It takes time. So how long can someone like wait? Like the minimum time, like they can offer you back to come? Is it like immediately 1 month, maybe after your graduation, or you have to wait?
I'm not really not sure about that. I think that will depend on your recruiter and manager, I think. Yeah, but yeah, I think you for the best case, I think is to ask the recruiter for more details.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Any questions from the audience? Yeah, you can make a presenter request and then have a chance to ask a question.
So okay, before anyone asks a question, I think uh something like I was waiting for maybe a question to pop up is maybe you ask John how he prepared for his technical interviews. So I didn't get that to see anyone ask that question, but yeah, you can ask him how he prepared for his technical interviews, the platform he used to practice his code skills, yeah, how he structured his GitHub, if he does have a GitHub account, yeah.
Yeah, John, I guess you can answer that.
Yes, okay. For me, I since the recruiter told us that it's data structures, you get an email saying that it's technical. So for me, I prepared in the data structure center using I used Link, LeetCode, and HackerRank. So those are two websites that I used. So basically, it's not diving in into the questions first. I think it's reviewing the overview of the data structures, knowing what they are, and also coding parts. I did do a lot of coding practices, and also I used another application called Pramp, an application called Pramp. So what Pramp does is that it's an application whereby you schedule an interview, a real technical interview with someone, and the application offers real questions that are asked in the top companies. For example, if you want to be interviewed based on Google questions, Microsoft, Netflix, that website is called Pramp, Pramp. They do offer if you sign up, they do offer 6 free interviews, and in those 6 free interviews, they will take you. The interviewers are people who have worked for these companies, and they will take you through that process. Yes, and also I just generally being prepared and yeah. If anything else forgotten, maybe ask. Yeah, I think that's it.
Okay, a question to Gibson. Okay, since you're an ex-intern, I don't know if that's the word. So is there anything you think you would have done differently? Like when you look back to when you are still an intern and right now, is there anything that, or any regrets or something of that sort?
Well, there's no regret per se. I think for me, what I've done different is try to join communities. So in this case, the Google student communities, the Microsoft student communities, they do help a lot, especially with your technical skills. So in this case, I think I don't know if this applies to your campus. So most of the campuses, so they do have the daily sessions where maybe a student teaches you a given tech stack. So for me, if I were to be given another chance, I would join as many communities as possible. One is because these communities they they reduce the amount of time you have to learn something. So if you were to learn a tech stack alone, you will take quite a lot of time compared to if you were to learn it as a community, because as a community you get to cover a huge area, and then you get to discover quite a lot of mistakes you would take a lot of time to discover yourself. So that's one for me. And then the second one, I think, is concentrate more on the skills. So writing, knowing how to write good code, and then this good code, I mean practicing a lot of my technical skills on lead code, because for me, I discovered lead code a few months before my interview. So a friend of mine recommended lead code, but I didn't really take that seriously. But then now that, because I know why a few how to handle few technical questions, so I do grind lead code. I yeah, so for anyone who wants to take the same path. So for one of the things I do is I I solve maybe 3 questions a day, but that doesn't have to apply to you. You can solve maybe a single question, 2 questions a day, and then in the long run you will discover a few improvements. So one, you will have a better solving skills. And then second, your code quality will be good, and then also yeah, try to, as much as to follow the, what do we call them, the clean code practices. So the things that a lot of people ignore is, well, it's as much as we want to learn a few frameworks doesn't really matter a lot. What really matters is the underlying technology. So if you have your basics right, so in this case, don't jump to a framework before you have mastered the underlying language. So if you are a JavaScript dev and then you're trying to master React or maybe React Native, try as much as possible to have a solid grounds on your JS skills.
Okay, I think that's a good one. Yeah, so I see we have about 20 minutes, 19 minutes left on the clock. Yeah, we can utilize that time for the Q&As. Yeah.
Okay, just to add up, I remembered I was asked about GitHub. Uh, One approach I will say to projects, and I have used it, is try to go when you're doing a project, especially if you're in the area of software engineering, try to uh, do your projects in a DevOps approach. In a DevOps approach, I mean try to build your project by planning, coding, testing it, and deploying it. And while you're doing that, you'll come to realize where you actually rely on. For example, Gibson said that he likes more backend. The only way he can like backend if he has actually tried it and done it. So try to do it more. Don't a DevOps approach, for example, people who like cloud virtualization, all those things, they're in the operation side. People who like testing, they don't like the deployment part, they don't like the coding part, they like the testing part. It's very different also. And also your projects have to be full projects have to complete that cycle for them to be a project. Don't just do a front end part and say that I've done a project. It needs to be a full project for it to actually be called like a project. So that's one advice I'll say maybe helped out my projects in GitHub.
Okay, and still on the same question about GitHub, since you're working at Microsoft, does that mean that you have access to some of their code? I mean, in their repositories or stuff. Yeah, for I think Gibson, since you've been there.
Yes, so for you to work on a project, you need to have access to a few code bases. So obviously you'll get access to them, a few. So you only get access to what you need. So also you have to be mindful that as an employee, well, one of the security measures is that you only get access to what you need. So you don't get access to everything. So yeah, you'll get access to only what you are working on, or what your team is working on.
Okay, and so a question from the chats: what are the requirements for AI, artificial intelligence?
For me, I'm not an AI expert, but I think as a software engineer or maybe a computer science student, uh, the AI, for me, I think you really have to be an engineer so to do AI. So from a software engineering perspective, so you need to know how to translate your AI code into something that's tangible, a complete project, as John mentioned. So for AI, if you have a few models you have deployed that are working, you can try to document them nicely, try to state the problem you're trying to solve, how you're trying to solve it, then maybe write a bit of reports. I think machine learning students or people do write reports based on their model performance and predictions and all that. So yeah, for the AI is just AI. I think is just like any other software engineering field. You need to know how to write code, and obviously for AI specific role, you have to be to know your way around AI and the field. So I'm really not that. I'm not really the right person to ask anything to do with AI. But I think I've tried my best to answer the question.
Okay, Julius, I think you can do more research on LinkedIn where there are a lot of job postings. You can go and check the requirements for the certain technology you want to specialize on. Yeah, personally, I think out of questions. Yeah, and then yeah, the audience, maybe you can try to fetch some questions, that burning question that you've been waiting to ask. Yeah, I think now is the time to raise it before we end the session in the next 14 minutes. Okay, it seems currently there are no questions. Yeah, maybe I think I can jump into the AOBs just to get a POV from Gibson and John. So right now we have this new AI called Devin. Yeah, and you can see that a lot of people, yeah, like there's so many people who are seeing there's no point of learning all this IT stuff, and because basically the devil will still come and take away their jobs. Yeah. So like what's your point of view on that? Yeah, on whatever is happening with this AI. Yeah, you think you can start
Well,
with Gibson?
okay, so yeah, for me, AI is just a tool like any other. So take maybe a few years ago. So when farmers were using jembes to plow their land, and then tractors were introduced. Tractors didn't really replace the farmers. So this AI thing is just a tool. So what you have to do as a software engineer, you really have to know how to adapt. So know your know how to adapt. So know how to use the tool to your advantage. And also, yet again, this AI thing is also code that needs to be maintained. So if you actually you are active on social media, so the company behind the new AI, they call him the new software engineer, AI software engineer. They
Yeah,
actually
Gibson Labs.
they are actually looking for software engineers in there to to do some of their work. So yeah, so AI is here to stay. So we can't really do anything about it. But what we can do is try to adapt and yeah, use this to advantage.
Okay, maybe John, you can add something on top.
Yeah, mine I think will be almost the same. It's just that for me, I think the software engineer that was created is maybe I'll call him a prompt software engineer, but it's more of someone a developer behind the AI that prompts the AI to do things. The AI will not just wake up and start debugging or creating new features. So I think it's just a way to you have to learn the technology. I think that's why I went as a software engineer. Also, I went in the side of machine DevOps to learn how to integrate all these things together. Yeah, not just playing, because I think moving forward, I think even systems and application will be created to just generate designs, things like that for graphic designers. So you just need to know to use them and adapt with them, because people will not employ the AI, they employ people who know how to use them mostly. So yeah, you just have to adapt well.
Okay, and then another question from the chats from James Ngatia. Any any other suggestion companies we can apply other than Microsoft, and also how do we apply? And again, if you have the phone numbers, please. Okay, I think I can try to answer that before I hand over. Yeah, if you are active on social media, mostly the platforms I'll recommend. If you're a tech guy, I think mostly it's LinkedIn. If you go to LinkedIn and you connect with people, mostly the companies and some of their employees, it's very easy to get the notifications once maybe a job is posted or maybe an attachment is posted. And also, the links are also shared there. Actually, that's my personal view since I'm always active on LinkedIn and I usually see a lot of postings there. Yeah, so I guess, John, you can answer that.
Yes, key thing is if you are active in social media, you make sure that the thing also I mentioned before was keep people in your field or in your industry as connections or follow them. And for me, as I said, I got the link to apply the job from one of them, and the way I followed that was they came for a career talk session in our school, and I immediately followed the recruiters and the people that were there, and they keep people updated on what's going on in their industry, opportunities, and also a key thing is recruiters also post jobs that they are recruiting for. Most recruiters do that on LinkedIn. So basically, who you follow will also determine a lot about that, and also keep update with their for example, right now IBM is hiring software engineering interns, IBM in Kenya, and many people maybe don't know that, but if you follow people around IBM, they have already posted that and everything. So I think it's just you have to be updated with everything. Don't just assume jobs will come to you, and always apply as early as possible. Don't wait till you see 1,000 people have applied so that you can apply.
Yeah, okay, I guess that's answered, Jimmy. Yeah, and also any other companies, yeah, like IBM has been mentioned. We also have Google, there's Safaricom. I think it was open. I'm not sure that it's closed right now. Yeah, and many more. Yeah, any company you can think of, but mostly just go connect with people and it will all come to you. Yeah, so I guess with the 7 minutes left, I'm not sure what else I can say. I'd like to thank John and Gibson and everyone else who has attended today's session. Yeah, so it was a nice session actually, and we are hoping to invite you once again after you are now in the field and share your experiences now from the inside part of it. Yeah, personally, it was an informative session. Being in first year, I've been able to get a heads up of what I need to do. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, thank you all for joining. Once again, I'm Alex, the acting GDC cybersecurity lead. Yeah, and yeah, that's all. Thank you all for joining. If there are no other questions, you can. Yeah, I think we can end the meeting, and if there are questions, you can still ask. But personally, I've concluded. Yeah, so yeah, John, I can see your hand is raised.
Yeah, just to add up is always look out for the tech events. They're very important. I think I know someone who actually got a job recommendation just because he attended a tech event, networked with some managers, and these tech events are there. Search for them, and for example, there was, I think last year there was one for Microsoft Ignite. I attended. I was invited by Microsoft after doing a challenge with them and just networking with in the events. So these tech events are there. Many of them are free. Attend them and connect with people.
Yeah, okay, yeah. So you should also connect through events. Yeah, like how we had a Dev Fest, and actually the Dev Fest has become a game changer in our community, our GDSC. Because if it's not the Dev Fest, I'm not sure if we could have grown the way we have grown. Yeah, actually, I really love that part about connecting on events. And also for those who are asking, yeah, the session is being live streamed on YouTube, and I've shared the link in the chats. You can use it, you can share it with your friends or use it to watch later on. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I don't want to lock anyone out. If there's anyone with a question, the platform is still open.